Welcome to We All Scream. I'm Lisa, and I know we normally go right into a story, but I've been thinking about some guiding principles that have really changed my life lately, thanks to my good friend Lindsay telling me to read the book The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. In fact, while on a phone call with Lindsay, I had a moment of clarity and I realized that I was a problem in most of my relationships. And that realization hit hard and it hurt, but it was also incredibly freeing. So recently I was diagnosed with ADHD, and that's opened my eyes to some of my social issues and helped me understand my neurodivergence. Being neurodivergent means that my brain works differently, and sometimes that includes acting on emotion more than I'd like. It's something I've been actively working on, and acknowledging this about myself has been a game changer. It's freeing to know that you're the problem because it means you can take action and fix it. And I've been making changes. And yeah, I've lost some friends along the way. It has definitely not been easy, but I truly believe these principles have changed my life in such a short time. And I really wanted to share them with you. So, first is be impeccable with your word. It's about speaking with integrity, saying only what you mean, and avoiding negative self talk or speaking against others. I found that when I focus on using my words to build instead of break, life feels so much lighter. Second, don't take anything personally. This has actually been the biggest one for me. I'm a people pleaser. I want people to like me. I want to know what they're thinking about me. But understanding what they say and do is actually more about them than me. And setting myself free from all that necessary pain and drama has been amazing. Third, don't make assumptions. We all know how easy it is to jump to conclusions, but asking questions and communicating clearly can save us so much confusion and misunderstanding. I've noticed my relationships improving just by being more open and direct. And finally, always do your best. Your best will look different from day to day, and that's perfectly fine. What matters is you're giving your all in each moment and that you've done enough. Since adopting these principles, I felt more balanced and connected, not just in my relationships and friendships, but even at my job. So, if you're looking for a little more peace and clarity in your life, I encourage you to try these out. They've helped me more than I could have imagined, and I hope they can bring you the same sense of calm and purpose. And if you're feeling overwhelmed or stuck, remember that recognizing our own role in things can be the first step towards creating the life that we want. Embrace those changes, even if it means letting go of what no longer serves you. All right, enough of that. I finally picked our Raven's name. It's Edgar, and I think it's perfect because who isn't a fan of Poe? And thank you, Bill Kurtzhaus, for that suggestion. He wanted to give a shout out to his beautiful wife, Ashley. So while we'll usually dive into the chilling world of true crime, today we're taking a different turn. We're stepping into the eerie and mysterious, exploring the haunted history of the Crescent Hotel in Eureka Springs, Arkansas. Built in 1886, the Crescent Hotel has seen its share of luxury, education, and controversy, from its origins as a grand Victorian resort to its darker days as a cancer hospital under the infamous Dr. Norman Baker. This historic hotel has a story to tell, and it's one filled with both history and hauntings. So I've actually been a guest at the Crescent Hotel twice. And while I was hoping for a ghostly encounter, I have to admit that I didn't experience anything out of the ordinary. Unfortunately, I didn't stay in a haunted room. Maybe that was it. But that doesn't mean the stories aren't out there, and countless others have reported strange and eerie happenings within these walls. In this episode, we'll uncover the fascinating past of the Crescent Hotel and explore the ghostly legends that have made it one of America's most haunted places. So if you're ready to step into the shadows of history, join me as we unravel the secrets of the grand old lady of the Ozarks. Eureka Springs is a charmingly quirky town with a unique flair featuring eclectic architecture and cobblestone streets. Shops line the historic district with art galleries, restaurants, hotels, and pubs. The town seemed to have sprung up overnight. It was the result of the rediscovery of an ancient Indian healing spring, long lost after the Osage tribe was moved out. People from around the globe flocked here to experience the healing waters. The population went from 0 in 1879 to 15,000 in 1880. There are reports of hundreds of testimonials from people who claim to have been healed. Clayton Powell, a former Arkansas governor and U.S. Senator, became involved in the local railroad business and aimed to boost profitability by encouraging both commercial and recreational traffic. Discovering Eureka Springs mineral water, Powell saw an opportunity to promote the city as a prime holiday destination. Partnering with Richard Kearns, Powell sponsored the creation of the Eureka Springs Railroad, a branch of the St. Louis and San Francisco Railway, to attract visitors and enhance the city's appeal. He also improved sanitation in the area. In 1884, Powell and Kearns decided to go all out and commissioned architect Isaac S. Taylor to design a lavish hotel perched high on a cliff overlooking Eureka Springs. They didn't hold back, spending about $294,000 on the project, which equates to around $9.4 million today. Eureka Springs is famous for its hilly and rocky landscape, which made construction quite challenging. The high elevation meant that careful planning and engineering were essential to ensure the site was stable and accessible. Irish stonemasons carved and put together massive 18-inch thick limestone blocks from a nearby quarry. The stones were transported to the hotel site by trains in specially designed wagons, arranged in a way that made mortar unnecessary. The build required a big team, including skilled stonemasons, carpenters, and laborers who tackled tough conditions to get the job done. After nearly 2 years of hard work, the Crescent Hotel was finally completed. Named after the crescent-shaped mountaintop it sat on, the Crescent Hotel's design and construction were top-notch for its time, highlighting the finest Victorian architecture and craftsmanship, featuring elaborate woodwork, decorative metal details, and spacious verandas. It was perfectly positioned to make the most of the natural hot springs with special facilities for relaxing baths and spa treatments. Its distinctive design and luxurious features made it a premier destination, cementing its lasting legacy and historical importance. On May 20th, 1886, the Crescent Hotel had its grand opening, and it was quite the event. The crystal dining room was filled with elegantly dressed guests dancing to a live orchestra, enjoying fine wine and gourmet treats like crab Lorenzo, which is still served there today. Among the notable attendees was James G. Blaine, a former Secretary of State and recent presidential candidate, along with other dignitaries, including Supreme Court justices and military leaders. The Crescent Hotel thrived for years, but as the economy took a downturn in the early 1900s, it only operated during the summer. To make better use of the building, the Eureka Springs Investment Company decided to turn it into a girls' boarding school called Crescent College and Conservatory for Young Women in 1908. The college ran from September to June and then switched back to a hotel for the summer. The college was known for its top-notch standards and Christian vibe. With 9 teachers covering subjects like math, science, languages, English, and history, it was a well-rounded institution. Richard Ryan Thompson moved to Eureka Springs in 1908 to join the college and help run things. By 1910, he was the college president and stayed in that role until 1924. His wife, Mary Breckenridge Thompson, taught French and hygiene, while Cecilia Paul took on the roles of both dean and summer hotel hostess. As time went on, the college expanded its courses to include music, speech, business, home economics, and art. It also gained a reputation for its physical education program, especially its basketball team, and offered activities like tennis, hiking, and horseback riding. According to the 1916-1970 catalog, students needed to bring a quilt, napkin ring, Bible, walking shoes, umbrella, raincoat, rubbers, laundry bag, and a hot water bottle. Their uniforms were Peter Thompson style, which is a more sophisticated version of a tailor suit in dark blue, worn with a sailor's knot scarf. In the winter, they had to wear a navy jacket and woolen underwear. All purchases had to be approved by the principal, and communication with outsiders was strictly regulated by a list given by parents. Back in 1912, tuition was $375 for the entire school year. In today's dollars, that's just over $12,000, still a bargain compared to today's college costs. Unfortunately, a lack of funding forced the college to close in 1924. In 1925, the Crescent Hotel was sold to new owners who promoted it for its amazing cuisine and special weekly rates. By 1929, it changed hands once more and operated only seasonally. In 1930, the college made a comeback with a fresh name, Crescent Junior College, and A.Q. Burns took on the role of president. The college boasted a girls' basketball team known as the Crescent Comets and had a top-notch faculty and staff. Crescent Junior College stayed open until the end of the 1934 school year. The Great Depression forced its closure, leaving the magnificent structure nearly empty as the town struggled to survive in an era when vacations were out of reach for most people. In July of 1937, Norman Baker bought the Crescent Hotel and turned it into Baker's Cancer Curing Hospital. This once grand Victorian hotel, built in 1886, had fallen on hard times. The local Chamber of Commerce, the Bank of Eureka Springs, and the Daily Times Echo hoped Baker could breathe new life into the place. So Baker went all out, painting nearly everything lavender or purple and decking out the lobby in a wild mix of red, yellow, orange, and black. It's important to note that Baker wasn't a doctor, at all. He was a radio broadcaster and a former vaudeville magician who made his money from a musical instrument called the air xylophone. He even put one on the hotel's roof. His so-called hospital didn't actually provide genuine cancer treatments. Instead, he peddled a supposed miracle cure called Formula 5. It was a mix of alcohol, glycerol, carbolic acid, ground watermelon seed, corn silk, and clover leaves. They injected it directly into the cancer site, sometimes up to 7 times a day. Baker actually stole the recipe from another con man. Many died at the hospital while receiving Baker's supposed therapy. He was a showman who wore white suits and lavender ties, peddling a populist message that distrusted science, education, and various religious groups. His life was marked by paranoia, and he even had his office protected by bulletproof glass and kept 2 submachine guns close by. His promotional materials, which promised miraculous cures, caught the attention of postal inspectors, leading to a mail fraud trial in 1940. Postal inspectors estimated that the hospital pulled in about $500,000 in a single year, which would be roughly $10.9 million today. Baker ended up serving time in Leavenworth Federal Penitentiary in Kansas from March 1941 to July 1944. After his release, he tried to reopen his business in 1946, but thankfully it didn't succeed. Reopening on July 4th, 1946 as a castle in the air atop the Ozarks, the Crescent Hotel began a new era with a fresh group of owners committed to bringing the historic hotel back to its original splendor. They set out to revive the old charm of the Crescent and ensure it remained a standout landmark. One of their key strategies was to collaborate with the Frisco Railroad to offer travel vacation packages. These packages combined the hotel's luxurious accommodations with scenic travel. This clever partnership drew in tourists from all over, eager to experience the allure of the Crescent Hotel and the surrounding area. These packages combine the hotel's luxurious accommodations with scenic train journeys, offering visitors a memorable and complete getaway experience. The Crescent Hotel has thrived through the years, even after a fire in 1967 damaged part of the building. By May 1973, it had reopened following repairs, and in 1980, it underwent more renovations to regain its original elegance. In 1997, when Marty and Elise Roenick, I hope I'm saying that right, acquired the hotel, they carried out major updates, including restoring the roofline to its historic design and adding period-appropriate furnishings. They also introduced the new moon spa in the basement, nodding to the hotel's history as a place for relaxation. The Crescent is part of the National Trust Historic Hotels of America and has been highlighted on the Discovery Channel for its Victorian beauty and frequent ghost sightings. It was listed on the National Register of Historic Places on January 26, 2016, and in November 2022, Elise Roenick received the Lifetime Achievement Award from the Historic Hotels of America for her exceptional efforts in preserving the Crescent. Paranormal investigators often suggest that limestone has a special capacity to absorb and emit electromagnetic and psychic energies. Since Crescent Mountain, the hilltop where the hotel is located, is mostly limestone, and the hotel's structure includes large 18-inch thick limestone, these elements may play a significant role in the intense paranormal activity reported by guests. One of the most known ghost stories from the Crescent involves a resident spirit known as Theodora, who is often seen as an elderly woman outside of room 419, fumbling with her keys before disappearing into thin air. Guests staying in that room have reported strange occurrences, such as items moving on their own and even finding their belongings neatly packed or the room tidied up, despite there being no housekeeping scheduled. It might sound benign, but Theodora's backstory adds a chilling twist. Theodora's story dates back to 1937 when the Crescent was repurposed by none other than Norman G. Baker. The tragic irony of people dying while being misled with false treatments, all while a con artist grew rich, seems like it would create the perfect conditions for a haunting. As for Theodora, her exact connection with the hospital is a bit elusive. Some say she was one of the patients deceived by Baker, while others believe she might have been a nurse. What is clear is that she was at the hospital while it was a cancer ward, and that she was known as a very neat, organized, and clean person. There's a story of a couple who, after had a heated argument, left their unpacked bags in their room and went downstairs to meet up with their friends. But when they came back to their room, their suitcases were neatly packed and waiting by the door. I guess they took that as a sign and decided to go ahead and check out that night. One guest returned to room 419 only to find himself locked out. He initially thought his roommate had accidentally locked him out, but when he searched the hallway, he ended up finding his roommate sleeping on a couch. After getting assistance from an employee to open the door, they discovered all of their luggage neatly stacked behind it. Legend has it that during the 1880s, while the hotel's skeletal frame was still under construction, an Irish stonemason tragically fell to his death in what is now known as Room 218. Today, this room is known for its high level of paranormal activity and has attracted television crews for decades due to the numerous and strikingly ghostly encounters reported. Known among staff as Michael, this poltergeist is infamous for his unpredictable behavior. Guests have reported eerie phenomena such as hands emerging from the bathroom mirror, the unsettling sound of a man falling from the ceiling, and doors that open and slam shut on their own, sometimes becoming impossible to open up again. The allure of these supernatural events has led many guests to specifically request room 218, hoping to witness the haunting for themselves. In the crystal dining room of the hotel, staff have frequently encountered playful spirits dressed in Victorian attire. During one holiday season, while the dining room was closed, the grand Christmas tree and its surrounding gifts moved from one side of the room to the other. When employees arrived the next morning, they found the tree and gifts rearranged with chairs placed in a circle facing the tree. On another occasion, employees found the dining room in pristine order except for menus scattered throughout the space. There was also an unsettling moment when a waitress glanced into a large mirror near the kitchen doors and saw a Victorian couple in a wedding-like pose. The groom locked eyes with her before the pair vanished, prompting the waitress to leave her job shortly afterward. Another frequent sighting involves a Victorian-dressed man called Jacob sitting by a window saying, "I saw the most beautiful woman here last night and I'm waiting for her to return." Many have reported seeing apparitions in Victorian ball gowns dancing through the room in the early hours while it remained closed and dark. One summer night during a ghost tour with 24 people gathered in the entranceway of the morgue, the tour guide stood up and began the presentation. As they prepared to speak, they heard distinct footsteps coming from the autopsy room, which was just down the short hallway. The sounds resembled someone pacing back and forth. The guide had an unsettling sense that the footsteps might be ghostly and that they were the only ones hearing them. So a few minutes later, while presenting the story of Norman Baker, the guide noticed that the tour group seemed distracted and wasn't paying attention. Pausing, the guide asked, "Do you hear the footsteps?" And to their surprise, everyone in the group nodded in agreement. When the Crescent was still a college, the young son of the president, 4-year-old Clifton Brecky Breckenridge Thompson, tragically died from complications of appendicitis. Today, it's said that he continues to play in the hallways bouncing his ball. The second floor is particularly associated with him, and he seems to be drawn to the presence of children. Many who encounter him describe him as having curly blonde hair and wearing old-fashioned clothes, and they often recount that he plays ball with them, believing him to be just another child who lives in the building. Dr. John Fremont Ellis, a respected physician from the 1880s who believed in the healing powers of the springs, is said to be seen in the hotel dressed in a Victorian outfit with a top hat. He's often observed coming out of the elevator and walking directly into his former office. Visitors also report catching the faint aroma of his cherry pipe tobacco near the office. During a tour, the guide paused with their group at the base of the hotel's grand staircase. Just before leading them down the winding path to the morgue, as they stood there, a sudden icy chill swept over her, sending goosebumps racing across her face. For a brief moment, she struggled to catch her breath. The two women beside her suddenly turned pale and asked, "Did anyone else feel that?" "It's the little girl. She's here. I can sense her." They were referring to the legend of the young girl who many years ago tragically fell from the fourth floor railing. The spot where the group stood is said to be where her body landed. Employees were cleaning the day spa when one of them noticed a cleaning bottle move on the makeup counter. She asked if anyone else had seen it. One other employee confirmed that they had, while 3 others said they hadn't. Since occurrences like this were so common, they all just went back to work. A tour guide had stopped in front of the day spa where she felt someone tap her on her shoulder. However, when she turned around, there was no one nearby who could have reached her. Close to midnight, an employee was walking across the parking lot towards his car when he heard the sound of footsteps crunching in the gravel behind him. But when he glanced down, he realized there was no gravel, only concrete. And in the pain asylum, located in the third floor, one employee experiences a sharp pain in her upper stomach and a wave of nausea every time she enters the area. However, as soon as she leaves, the symptoms disappear. Interestingly, without knowing about the employee's experience, a visiting medium reported feeling the same pain, further validating the employee's claims. As the tour guide was wrapping up her stories on the third floor, she noticed a little girl at the end of the hallway playing on a brass luggage cart. The girl wore a knee-length black dress adorned with tiny pink rosettes, and her dark hair fell just past her shoulders. She appeared to be about 6 or 7 years old. Assuming she was a guest, the guide continued on the stairs, intending to wait while the group took pictures. Once everyone had gathered downstairs, the guide casually asked if anyone else had seen the eerie little girl on the third floor, but no one had. On the third floor, where the hotel meets an annex added when it was a hospital, there's a spot rumored to be a portal to the other side. Guests on the nightly ghost tour have reported feeling faint at this location, and even a few of them briefly passing out, though no clear reason for this can be found. These episodes occur in bursts, with multiple incidents over several weeks or months, followed by periods with no occurrences. Guests often turn pale, slump against the wall, and slide down before quickly recovering. This phenomenon continues to add to the hotel's mystique and its connection to the supernatural. A manager of nightly ghost tours has noticed a significant increase in activity in the morgue since the 2019 discovery of specimen bottles that once belonged to the former owner, Norman Baker. The bottles were first found by a gardener, prompting an archaeological dig that revealed hundreds of bottles of Baker's secret formula and jars with medical specimens removed from his patients. Since this discovery, there have been more frequent sightings of a dark figure in the morgue, along with a rise in cold spots and reports of unexplained touches. When the hotel served as a college and conservatory for young women, a tragic event took place. One student, devastated upon discovering she was pregnant and fearing the shame she would face, is said to have thrown herself from the fourth floor balcony. However, some stories suggest that she may have actually been pushed. There's speculation that the father of her child may have been one of the professors at the school. And according to legend, her ghost can be seen at 10:30 p.m. falling from the balcony, shrouded in a white mist. I did try to spot this ghost both times that I was a guest at the Crescent, but unfortunately, I didn't see anything either time. And then we have Morris the cat. In 1973, an orange tabby named Morris wandered into the hotel lobby and decided to stay, becoming a beloved fixture at the Crescent Hotel for the next 21 years. Morris became such a fixture to the hotel that he was affectionately known as the general manager. Locals fondly recalled how Morris wasn't just the hotel's cat, but also a cherished member of the community. And during his time at the Crescent, no visit was complete without a sighting of Morris, or even better, a chance to pet this iconic feline. The hotel even built a special kitty door completed with carpeted steps on both sides to make it easier for him to come and go. When Morris passed away in 1994, the deep affection the community felt for him was evident as more than 300 people attended his farewell ceremony, which was held at the hotel. He was laid to rest on the hotel grounds, and today visitors can pay their respects at his headstone on the East Lawn. His photo and a remembrance poem also remain on display in the hotel, a tribute to the cat who became a symbol of the Crescent Hotel. The poem reads, "In memory of Morris, the resident cat at the Crescent Hotel, he filled his position exceedingly well. The general manager title he wore was printed right there on his own office door. He acted as greeter and sometimes as guide. Whatever his duties, he did them with pride. He chose his own hours and set his own pace. The guests were impressed with his manners and grace. Upstairs and down, he kept everything nice. They might have had ghosts, but they never had mice. Due to the fact he was growing quite old, he dozed by the fire when the weather got cold. His years were a dignified 20 and 1. When at last he retired, his 9 lives were done. He filled his position exceedingly well, the resident cat at the Crescent Hotel." Since Morris's passing, guests have often reported the sensation of a cat rubbing against their legs, only to look down and find nothing there. Some have even claimed to see an orange tabby wandering the halls, only to be surprised when told that the hotel's resident orange tabby passed away in 1994. It seems Morris loved his role as general manager so much that he's decided to stay on, keeping an eye out to make sure the mice don't play. The Crescent Hotel stands as a testament to both the beauty and the darkness of history. From its beginnings as a luxurious resort to its transformation into a place of false hope and despair under Norman Baker, the Crescent has seen it all. Today, it continues to captivate visitors, not only with its rich past, but also with the spirits that seem to linger within its walls. Whether you believe in the paranormal or not, there's no denying the Crescent Hotel's place in American folklore, a place where history and mystery intertwine. Your support helps this podcast continue to grow, so please don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and follow us wherever you listen to your podcast so you never miss an episode. Until next time, stay curious, stay cautious, and as always, trust no one.